But there is also a second argument which is often mentioned when talking about the PYD and when arguing why one should not really criticize the PYD. And this is that the PYD or the PKK are an organization founded in the Middle East, and in the Middle East in general democracy is not very strong, so one should not really wonder. The PKK, this is the argument, is not much better than maybe other regimes and other governments, but it's also not worse. And maybe that's true, but it's also a quite strange argument, I believe, at least from people who earn their money by writing reports about, for example, human rights violations in Syria, human rights violations in Turkey, human rights violations in Iraq, human rights violations in Iran. They believe that all these human rights violations have to be mentioned. And the only organization which is allowed to commit human rights violations without being criticized should be the PKK, the PYD. I think this is also not very, this is not logic, it doesn't make any sense. Very often those people then say, well, you know, the PYD, the PKK is a guerrilla organization, we have to have different standards on them. And maybe this was true before the PKK did establish really a government in Syria. We always have to have in mind that in Syrian Kurdistan, the PKK really is not a guerrilla organization. Well, it is one. It is a guerrilla organization with fighters, but it's the government there. So we also have to measure them on the same standards as we usually measure governments.